let's yeah, let's check in with this energy here and just get a little bit centered, and we'll go kind of go from there. So, all right. Um so let's just go ahead and start breathing into our heart spaces. And again, breathing in light, breathing in mm, the information in our information fields. It's like breathing in from 360 degrees around us, right into that heart space, and then exhaling that out. Yep. Back out 360 degrees. It's like we're inhaling what we need in the moment from our own information fields, from the clarity and the purity of our own being, and we're exhaling out what doesn't match that. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Somebody just dumped a bunch of information. So let's breathe in again. Let's do it one more time. And exhale that out. And so really as we're breathing on a regular basis, that breathing in the information of what we need is just really helpful right now, because we can get really distracted with all kinds of different things. And so when we are distracted, especially by, let's say, lower frequency thoughts or fears or worries or concerns, again, let's just assume that everything that is required, desired, is within the purity of our own information fields. And so we can just literally pull that in at will and exhale out whatever the thoughts or the fears or the anxieties or the stressors might have been. It's just a great practice to get into. All right. So one more inhale and exhale, and then we'll take some questions. All right, then. Sharon, what have you got for me?
Hey, this question. I know this is a very tumultuous time energetically, or at least that's how it's appearing and feeling for me currently. Health issues are popping up, vertigo and relationships are feeling uneasy. I connect with my husband on many levels. However, we are both feeling a disconnect at the moment. Any insights you can provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hold on one second. Well, yeah. Well, first, what I want to say is yes, it is. It is tumultuous, or it can feel tumultuous to the physical, mental, and emotional body when the energy that we no longer are is starting to fall away, right? And so we we just don't know how imprinted, conditioned we have actually been, until some of this energy that we really thought was us starts to fall away. And when it starts to fall away, of course, the mind especially wants to grab a hold of it and say, well, wait, that's not supposed to be going anywhere. That's who I really am, or that's what. And so it's dismantling. It's also not. Um, I wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't be concerned about the disconnect for you and your husband. It probably is temporary, but what I will say is that we are we are sovereign individuals, and that includes when we're in close relationships. And so what it feels like, or what you're showing me anyway, is that there's been a bit of a distance created so that you both can drop the old information and see who and where and what you are based on the current reality. And then you can choose to come back together. You can choose to, or you, how do I want to say this? it's like you're choosing each other from on from this. mm, you're choosing each other, or not choosing each other. And either way is, in the big scheme of things, is absolutely fine. But that disconnect, to me anyway, in your field feels temporary. And it also feels like it's very purposeful because you all both want to know who you are in this energy before you reconnect, right? And it feels also like there's an awful lot of, mm, um, to one degree or another, I'm not picking on you or anything like that. One degree or another, we all have certain levels of codependency in relationship, and especially if we've been in that relationship for a long period of time, that codependency is, it's just there. It's the way we were all brought up. It was the way we were conditioned to seek out relationship and be in relationship. And so that codependency and all of those patterns are dropping out of our energy fields right now. And so you guys need a little bit of space to figure out who you are without that, and then come back together and choose what you want to do next. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful.
All right, this question is, since Sunday, I have been experiencing more feelings of disconnect, worry, body aches, etc. My family members are also experiencing more challenging events. Sleeping throughout the night is also becoming more challenging. I wish for the opposite. Any insights?
Yeah, again, when we disconnect from the old, what ends up happening is that the energy that was associated with the old is coming up and out. So a lot of times, we can have interesting dreams, or we can have body aches, or we can have challenges with sleep. Our patterning starts to get kind of disoriented, let's say, for a bit. It's not long lasting, and it will definitely not, it's not long lasting. But what I will say is I had the same thing actually, last night, the night before last. It was almost like another layer of information was coming up and out for me. My shoulder has been the marker for me. And what I was noticing is that it had really been feeling better. And then all of a sudden last night, it went through another um, pattern of, discomfort and things like that. So again, it's not what's arising that we are really want to pay so much attention to. It's how we meet what's arising. Because the minute we meet what's arising with compassion, love, appreciation, it'll move through and it will recreate itself in a new image, let's say. The old patterning was primarily based in fear, right? So a lot of that, the way in which our body held particular energies, was based in fear. And as it arises again, we get the opportunity to meet it with love, to meet it with compassion. And so most of us have a tendency, I know I can go there very quickly myself. I have to remind myself to meet it with love, because, when my shoulder stuff comes up, it's like, oh, why isn't this finished yet? Why, like you said, I was hoping for something else. I was hoping for some, well, if we really, really understood that what is moving through in that discomfort is kind of being, let's say, fast tracked, intensified and burnt out, let's say, then we would be really grateful that it was there, that it was there and it was moving through. but we're not conditioned that way. We're conditioned to say that pain is bad in the body and we shouldn't have it, and something's wrong with us if we do have it. And so we go through those whole cycles once again. So again, meeting what arises with compassion is the easiest way forward, and it's the easiest way to realign your body with unconditional love, because that's really kind of what it's needing right now, um, on as many levels as you can give it to it. So I hope that's helpful. Hmm.
This question is when and how did you begin to understand and communicate in light language?
Hmm. um, it makes me laugh because when I very first heard light language, I hadn't heard other people speak it yet. It was back in probably maybe 2000, something like that. And when I would meditate, at first I would hear it in my head. I had no idea what it was. And at one point after the whole Riley experience in 99, there was what looked to me like an Aboriginal man who came and used to sit on the end of my bed, and he would teach me light language. And that was also a little disconcerting, at least at the time, because I was still in my speech pathology mode. But the very first time it actually came out, some woman had sent her husband to have a session with me. And it was back in the day when I was still working on physical bodies. So he came in and laid down and, and I heard, now you're going to use this light language. Now use the light language. It'll help him. And I was like, no, absolutely not. Number one, it's the first time I ever had met this gentleman. His wife had sent him. I'm sure I was still very uncertain about what the heck was going on anyway. So, and I kept going, no, I was having an argument the whole time about it. And at some point, it literally did just come out. And from that moment forward, once I actually let it come out, then I noticed what it did on his behalf. So I noticed that it was helpful, and that it was shifting things, and it was kind of opening him up to another level of his consciousness or his awareness. And he was very receptive to what had happened because of that, which was wonderful. And the other thing I will say is that light language, for me anyway, I didn't understand that light language for years. And there was no way of translating it for me. And I gave up, honestly, trying to translate it at one point. And then probably, I'd say maybe even 8 years ago, five years ago, what I noticed is that all of a sudden it felt like it was more like a two-way conversation than it was just being given information to share with others. And yeah, from that moment forward, I've never looked back. I will say it changes as well. I've had some really amazing experiences with, not so much in the group. You won't hear it in group sessions because the light language that comes forward in the group sessions is pretty much for that group. But in different individual sessions, depending on where that person is more aligned, sometimes the light language changes pretty dramatically. And I kind of always really like when that happens. It's like having a whole different field of information opened up to you. So anyway, I hope that's helpful.
All right. This question is, this mom is about 5 months pregnant and she's wondering about the baby. And is there anything that they need? but she'd also like to know how to better connect with them herself.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, good. Well, thank you for is it okay? I'm assuming it's okay for me to check in with the baby. 'Cause, yeah. Okay. So one of my favorite things. So let me just see. Hmm. So the baby's answering your question actually, as far as that connection is concerned. And, this is a really amazing time to start telepathic communication with that child in utero, because there's such an openness and yeah, it really is beautiful. So even the idea to want to do that is not just your idea, but the baby's idea as well. And what I would suggest is just really simple things in making that connection. Like literally, sit into the consciousness of that child and ask the consciousness of that child to go ahead and bring you dreams, bring you thoughts, bring you ideas. Uh, yeah, hold on a second. Um, It's funny. I'm saying it because it's not letting me. You may know already what the sex of the baby is, but um, it's it's asking to not be defined by that. It's asking to um, be a soul first that is being born into your reality, and be a boy or a girl or any of the other identifiers that might come after that, asking to be those second, and really asking for that soul to soul connection. And so, even if you already know the sex of the baby, even when, a lot of times we'll jump right into the preparation for that. And um, this one is just asking to put that aside for a moment and to really connect with the essence, with the soul. And that one little step of not making it about a sex of the baby, but making it about the soul of the baby, should give you already deeper connection to that telepathic communication, or that, and we could even drop the word telepathic, and it really is this heart to heart connection. I mean, you are simply being present to that part of yourself which is coming forth through you. Yeah. So yeah, very cool. Mm.
All right, I'm going to read this one. It's kind of more along the clients you've been getting lately, and
Around the what, Sharon?
the kind of clients you have been getting
Oh,
lately.
yeah. Mhm.
And so to kind of generalize it to help all of this, because I think it's an important question.
Okay.
My son's OCD is so extreme, he himself has articulated that he is suffering and can't take it anymore. He has also said that his mental health is suffering and he is incredibly stressed. The other night, when I tried to help him via conscious breathing, he said, I don't understand that interrupting him has serious consequences. He says she will die if he doesn't do what he needs to do. He asked to see a psychotherapist to help him, and we have identified somebody, but his sessions won't start until the new year. I've intended to share calming breathing techniques, but he says that doesn't work for him. Also giving him calming supplements and calling in archangels to support him, and it feels like an escalation is severe and he is suffering so much. Any help is very welcome.
Yeah. Well, let's go someplace that we don't typically go in these conversations, and let's Um, hold on a second. I want to figure out how to present this piece. Okay, so let me just say this first, and then we're going to address this client directly. So, or this person directly. So, what I'm noticing right now, in like Sharon was saying, in a lot of my clients is I'm having a lot of clients now. I mean, a lot, like every other one, it feels like, that is dealing with mental health, what we would consider from a more mainstream perspective, mental health kinds of concerns, different levels of psychosis, different levels of hallucinations, psychotic kind of episodes. I mean, there's a lot of energy like that floating around. Okay. So, what I've also noticed is that when we attempt to treat that energy, let's say, that information or those information fields from what we would consider those physical realms, do they need a supplement? Do they need whatever? Do they need a particular kind of treatment? Do they need this, or this? It usually does exacerbate the condition or the situation, and of no fault of anybody trying to be of support, because it's what we know to do to support. Any parent in this situation, they're all trying to find that right support for their child. So, but again, I really want us to understand. Um, I really want us to understand energy and the scope of the energy that some of these new kids actually hold. Some of we hold as well. So again, let's see ourselves as concentric circles, the physical bodies here, right? And concentric circles going out from that physical body. Each one of those bands of energy is an information field. Holds all kinds of it holds all kinds of information, and it gathers all kinds of information depending on the scope that that particular individual has access to, right? So when we're dealing with it on close to the body, let's say, then we are what happens, what I've seen anyway, I'm just going to say what I've noticed because I'm learning along with all of you guys, because this is expanding pretty quickly. So, but when we treat it just with what we know, let's say so far, what it's doing, it's like it's kind of, when we treat the problem from the same place it was created, that same consciousness or that same frequency band that it was created, a lot of times it doesn't do anything or it heightens it, let's say. So, but if we go out further in their energetic fields and we start shifting those energetic fields way out there, which is where so many of these kids actually live and breathe and receive their information, then from that standpoint, sometimes we can start really altering that energy. The other thing that I will say is that I have not seen a kid yet with OCD behaviors or some kind of psychosis or psychotic episodes or things like that that has shifted without having the DNA shift and without having the parents shift. So it's not like a where most of these kids hang out in the first place, we are all one. And so if the collective humanity is releasing their psychosis, let's say, if collective humanity is dismantling what no longer serves um, the the higher dimensional fields or the broader dimensional fields of who and what we actually are, if all that information is dropping, and if these kids also have access to all that information being dropped, the moment it starts dropping within the collective, they're ramping up, trying to move it through as fast as they possibly can, right? So there's all kinds of, I'm going to say, odd, unusual places and spaces to go energetically in order to shift things. And I know for me, I have been really stretched lately. It's like, that's not far enough, keep going out further. And to me, if something hasn't shifted or changed yet, it just means that we haven't gone out far enough in those dimensional fields to get what is actually the core of it, and or we have not dealt with some of the other people in the environment. We haven't, the other people in the environment, let's say, it's not so much about dealing with anybody. So I want to course correct that. It's also about creating an environment, creating an energetic environment through the people that individual spends time with, through the access and the information that they have access to. It's about creating a landing pad for them in that as well. So it's both and. Yeah. So let's just see. I just want to address this request here for just a minute. See if we can soften things up a little bit. Okay, so really everybody on this call might know somebody or might feel like they are that themselves, where something is amped up and or where they're not feeling quite emotionally stable as all of this old information just meets its demise. Yeah. Okay, so just take me where you want me to go here. All right. And I'm just gonna, crazy as it will sound, I'm kind of done with that caveat right now, because there are a lot of people that are really very uncomfortable. And so I'm just going to say what I'm seeing, and you guys can take it for what you believe it to be or not. But in this particular case, we're going way the heck out there. We're going way out into other cosmic realities. Yeah. And what I hear him saying to me is, come find me, come find me. That it's kind of like I'm lost out in this other cosmic reality, this other reality, and this is literally like a different, it's like a different universe is the best way I can describe it. And I'll also be the first to say that I'm, again, universe hopping is new to me. So give me just a minute here. So he's come find me. I'm finding him in a different universe. And when I'm finding him in a different universe, there's a pull from that universe through his energy fields. And as he feels like he's getting pulled by into that universe, into that reality, he he gets nervous, he gets anxious, he gets a little freaked out about it, and then he goes into ramping up everything that everything that he's trying to avoid being pulled into that other universe, that other reality. So this isn't a physically being pulled into another universe or another reality. Is not going to disappear, but what it is and what he has access to, again, this is on an unconscious level. And so this is the challenge. If you ask him, are you being pulled into another universe, he's probably going to look at you like, I don't know what you're talking about. But that doesn't mean, that's like if somebody had told me, 20 some odd years ago, that I would be having this conversation with you today, I'd go, I don't know what you're talking about, because it wasn't fully up in my consciousness yet. And this is what is absolutely true for so many individuals right now. What we are releasing ourselves into, what we are actually becoming, let's say, is so far from what we have been conditioned to be, that when we get pulled into this new energy, we have a tendency to resist it in all kinds of ways, because nothing here tells us, number one, that that should be possible, or there's no reference point for that energy and that information. And what's interesting, when he said, come find me, is what he's inviting me to go there, right? He's not inviting me to pull him back into this reality, into the, I'll say, the old world and what's happening in the old world. He wants absolutely nothing to do with that. And quite honestly, I don't think most of these kids that are that sensitive, they've never really wanted to have anything to do with that. But they also do have some of the conditioning of their parents, of their lineage, of their DNA, that says when this pull starts happening, don't go with it. And so there's this push pull between the reality of whatever conditioning they have had and the reality of what they have access to. And so even as I'm saying this to him, he's kind of giving me like two big thumbs up, kind of going, okay, stay here with me. It's almost like there's nobody. That's not, he's perceiving that there is nobody there with him, and nobody there within his family with him, because again, we don't even know to go there. And nobody there, that's not true. There are other souls there. It's just that he's not familiar with them yet. So let's see. We're just gonna be patient with me. Okay. All right. So just getting him, you might say, grounded or stabilized in that energy field where he is, not trying to pull him back from where he is. But letting him really get anchored where he is, so that he first feels stable there, and then he starts to invite the rest of us in that direction. So when we change, the way he's saying it, when we change cosmic spaces, let's say, when we shift our environment, our vibrational environment, there are different realities that start to emerge. And what he's showing me is so many of these kids that I've been working with lately, they are shifting cosmic realities, and as they shift that reality, they're being pulled by the old reality and they're being moved into the new one. And and we don't want to hold them, we don't want to hold them in the old reality. We want to help them secure themselves in the new reality, so that that new world, that new reality can come into being, right? Where we plant ourselves, where we align ourselves vibrationally, is what starts to become our reality. And so we're also going to clear here, both for him and for any of you that might have other loved ones that are having similar kinds of experiences, yourself included. Let's clear that tug of war between the old reality and the new reality, between the old patterning, the DNA, the lineage, the what humans have been taught that they are, versus the vastness of being that we actually are. So let's clear that tug of war energy. Put that in a sphere out in front of us. We'll blue star that. Spin that to clear. Compress and condense it back into that blue star. And we're going to return that to before it was ever created. The biggest thing that's trying to happen here is he's trying to let go. He's trying to let go of the old. Yeah. And as he's trying to let go of the old, what typically will happen for a parent or the lineage is all the anxiety, stress, all the things that we hold on to so tightly as reality will come to the surface. Because like I said earlier, it's not just him letting go, it's us letting go as well. Yeah, we're all in that state. Yeah. So, okay. Let's see if there's anything else. All right. Yeah, let's leave that as it is for right now, and I'll add more to that privately when okay.
All right. I think a lot of people are feeling this one, so I'm just going to read it. I'm going through such a transformation, having just moved from Arizona to Asheville. I have been doing energy healing lately, but I don't have anything to give others. How do we adjust to that?
Yeah. Again, we're moving out of separation and we're moving into truly understanding that we are one. So what you do for you, you do for others, right? What you do for yourself when you care for you, when you love you, when you are taking care of your body and your mind and your spirit as you move through this transitional time, you are helping collective humanity. There's just no way around it, right? No way around it. So, and one of the other things that we really have to get here is that, we've all been taught our whole lives that we need to be quote unquote, of service, or we need to be, but what that has actually really meant in the past is to be in servitude to, and I know for myself right now, I'm reconsidering how I'm doing just about everything moving into the new year. And I'm also noticing that my body, my mind, my spirit requires a lot more attention than it ever has, as I continue to work with people. So, so we just need to reevaluate this for a moment, and one, understand that, yeah, what we do for ourselves, we do for the collective. And it's also true that if we're going to continue to do some kind of work, let's say out in the world, we really want to make sure that um, we are working in all of these different fields within ourselves and keeping those fields clear. Yep, just keeping those fields clear, just burning out that energy. One of the guys on um, the team that I'm working on, when I'm working with these new vibrational spaces, he always says what happens is that other people's stinking thinking gets stuck in your energy field, and it becomes, challenges in your body and those kinds of things. So, we can look at our own stinking thinking. We can look at our own, the ways in which we are thinking about ourselves, thinking about our bodies, thinking about our experiences. All of this is really important now. And it is, I would say, almost a full-time job just to keep yourself um, uh, present to yourself, just to keep yourself aligned to yourself. And so allow that to be your full-time job right now. And if issues around trust or abundance or those kinds of things come up secondary to that, needing to spend that time with yourself, then again, let's meet those experiences. Let's meet those different places within ourselves and have love and compassion for that too. Yeah, we are. It's fast and furious now, folks. I mean, the dismantling is just, yeah, it's caving. It's caving. And so all that loving kindness going towards you, which means that all that loving kindness is going towards others, is going towards everyone. And as you find yourself shifting in that energy, what you're going to find is that those that are shifting right along with you are right there with you, you know? Yeah. All right. Well, that did it.
Okay. I love what you revealed in the response to the baby. I am wondering at what phase of gestation the soul enters the body. I've been under the impression that the soul enters as the baby is born, therefore establishing its astrological sign. And is consciousness and soul the same thing?
Let's see. Terekere matero kui mahi seke, atatena matere kaya kue kaya se. What I'm hearing anyway is that no, we are consciousness in a body, out of a body, while the body's being created, while it's not being, it's like we are consciousness. Consciousness is what we are. And so to limit that consciousness to being quote unquote in a body or out of a body even is not necessarily the case either. There are moments when we are having where consciousness is having the experience of gestating, There are other moments when consciousness is having the experience of being birthed, consciousness being the experience of, being human and developing as a human being, right? So the consciousness piece the is what we are. We are consciousness itself. Yep. And that consciousness itself has a variety of different kinds of experiences, right? It's the same reason why consciousness itself can even have an experience in a different universe or a different, right? And this is where we've been conditioned. Again, this is all conditioning. This is where we've been conditioned to be so much smaller, to put ourselves in little boxes of experience. And so we could say that consciousness is having an experience in any given moment. And we, in any given moment, can identify with the consciousness that we are having that experience, or we can identify as the experiencer, let's say, as the human or as the whatever having that experience. But we're being invited right now with the collapse of all of this old energy to truly see ourselves as consciousness first. So even when we say, is it consciousness, the soul, is soul consciousness? I don't, all I can tell you is what I'm hearing, which is that the soul is an experience of consciousness itself, right? So again, that's an experience within consciousness. Consciousness is all that is, ever has been, ever will be. And we each are having that experience always, in all ways and always. We are all that is, ever has been, ever will be. And what we identify with, we kind of focus down into and become, right? And the more we're conditioned to focus down into, I'm a soul, or I'm gestating, or I'm a 60-year-old woman, or I'm a whatever, right? The more we narrow it down and say, oh, I'm that, the more we have that experience. Yep, that's how powerful we are. Does that make sense? So anytime we're stuck in any experience, instead of trying to unwind it and trying to figure out how to get out of that experience because we're stuck in that experience, again, let's reverse that. Let's remind ourselves that we are consciousness itself. We are consciousness having that experience, right? Not the other way around. Yep. And yeah, you guys are opening up a big field right now. It's like, I don't know where these questions are. I said this on the Sunday call, on the special energy session call, and I didn't quite get it myself. It's like, we can't stay small anymore. We can't stay focused in any one place, not on our early childhood, not on any of it. We can't, because the moment we stay focused there, the moment that this energy that's rapidly shifting us, the moment that consciousness itself is applied to it, it gets bigger. There it goes again. There it goes again. This is creation, right? So focus up first on being consciousness itself, and secondly, where do you want to apply that consciousness? Because it's just what you're showing me is it's like it's flowering exponentially right now. It's just bang, 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 bang. It's like big bangs all over and over again. Yeah. So I know that went in a little different direction than baby talk, but that's, yeah.
All right. We'll make this the last question. It's more of a comment for you to expand on, and then you can do closing remarks.
Okay.
Okay. So interesting that you said what you did with respect to body pains and illnesses. As I myself was just conversing with a friend the other day as I'm getting over a flu-like illness, and I said to her that the illness came on when someone moved away from my life, and it felt like what was happening in my body was a major cleansing and releasing that was manifesting as the flu-like illness.
Yeah.
And then she says, what if an illness is really a cure? It felt good. So I feel it's
I thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's like, so yeah, that's it. You got it. I mean, after all the arguing with my shoulder and limited points of view that I was holding around that too, I finally was like, oh my gosh, what is it? It's a portal into new realities is what I heard. And I was like, well, I hadn't thought about it that way. It's like that's not, but I love what you're saying about this quote unquote quote illness being related to somebody moving away in your life. It's and that in and of itself was the healing, because again, we are a coagulation of energies and interconnectedness, and it hurts when it hurts when somebody leaves us or leaves our space, or things change, or those dynamics get reworked all the time and are designed to be reworked all the time. And yet at the same time, when any of those strings are pulled, those places where that energy was held in our bodies, that energy will come to the surface. So, it's like, it's both a clearing, as that person is clearing, you are also clearing where that was held in the body. And if we perceive it as just what it is, then what ends up happening is that energy is the healing, that movement is the healing. And as that healing occurs, then the dynamic of that consciousness, or the dynamic of that energy in consciousness, changes as well. Yeah. 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 Okay. Sharon, is there one more? I just feel like
there is one more.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like there's one more to address, and then we'll go just a little bit over. I know I said an hour today, but I lied.
Okay, no worries. Okay, you both, let's see. I had my son and I were waiting at a green signal for a left turn 2 months ago when suddenly someone T-boned us. Car was totaled and we were being treated for pain. But for me, the pain from lower back to left knee will not just go away. What is the universe trying to tell us? And it's surely a slap on the face. And am I too off from my soul plan? Thank you for your question.
Read that again, Sharon. So
the basic question is, what is she missing to integrate this experience? And what the question is the question, let me get, what is the universe trying to tell me with the pain that they are experiencing?
Okay, and what was the slap in the face bit? That was the part that really stuck out.
What is the universe trying to tell us? It's surely a slap on the face.
Okay. right, hold on a second. The universe is not, well, universe, God, source, all that is, consciousness itself is not and has never been slapping you on the face, right? Uh, and I understand because I know that we've all felt that way before. I'm um, using this example just to bring it up, not to target you in any way, shape, or form, but because we all feel that way. We've all been conditioned to feel that we are being targeted, that we are being, that there's something that we have done wrong, and therefore we're getting the slap on the face. Consciousness itself is not a narcissistic parent. Consciousness itself is not hold on a second. You guys are stretching me today, so just give me a minute. I feel like we're all kind of going to another level of awareness, and I don't quite have all the words yet, or that translation's not as easy yet. So if there's a course correction here for you, the course correction is really about how you perceive all that is, ever has been, ever will be, right? And is all that is, ever has been, ever will be, is that you? Do you factor into that? Or do you not, in your belief system? And again, these are not questions to come up with solid answers about. They're just questions to ask because they just open something in you. So one of our deepest conditionings, and I'm talking deep, it doesn't matter what religion you were brought up in, that imprinting for eons of time has us identifying all that is, ever has been, ever will be as some kind of parental figure that's, knocking us into order, let's say, providing a slap on the face, right? This is the love and the purity. Consciousness itself is the love and the purity of your own being. It is what you are in truth. And what we are in truth, like I say, does not knock us around like some ill-trained parent, right? Or less aware parent, right? Consciousness itself nurtures and loves and supports and provides reference for that same nurturing, loving, supportive expression. So that's what we're here to give ourselves. That's what we're learning or remembering. As we remember what and who we actually are, we remember that that's what we give to ourselves. So whether we're T-boned or whether we've got body pain or whether our thoughts are all over the place or our emotions are feeling deeply, in many ways right now, the opportunity is always the same. Can we meet that to whatever degree we can in that moment? with love and compassion. Because as we do that, we're more aligned with the purity of our own being. We're more connected with the truth of our totality, instead of the way totality has been separated into all these little pieces, places, and spaces. So everywhere where each and every one of us, through no fault of our own, hold belief systems, hold imprinting, hold conditioning that literally limit the vastness of what we actually are in truth. Let's go ahead and pull all that energy up and out of our fields, and we're going to place that in a sphere out in front of us. You don't have to know what it is or why it is or how it is. And we're going to blue star that energy. And we'll spin that whole field to clear. Spin it to clear. Compress that clear sphere back into that blue star, and we're going to drop that blue star back into the totality of our being, back into consciousness itself, what we are in truth, purity of our own being. Yep, and implode that into billions of frequencies of light. Yeah, if we came for something, we came for this. To remember this through this form, to remember this at this time. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, closing remarks, Sharon, you ready?
I think very good.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's just do a little reorienting here. So if you literally turn your attention point inward, if those eyes that are looking out, or that third eye that is looking out, if we just reverse that, if we turn that inward, you're most likely going to see a no thing. You're most likely going to see, if you see anything at all, there might be just a feeling of spaciousness. So again, we are the space, we're not the things in space. We're the consciousness out of which things are created, and those things can be physical, mental, emotional. We're not what's created, but we're the creator of those creations. We're the consciousness with which those creations come into being. And that's why it's so important right now to just pay attention to where our attention point is. It's also the reason why there is such a fight for your attention. You notice that everything that wants your attention right now is designed to separate. It's designed to put you back into some kind of box, some kind of rightness or wrongness, good, bad, up, down, left, right. And so what happens if we just move our attention away from that space and turn our attention to what actually is? And the more we have that as a reference point, the more we have the capacity to apply that consciousness, to apply that consciousness to what we choose to create. What we choose to add that consciousness to. There we go. It's a very different feel. It's a very different space than what we're used to. But it's a much more, ironically, maybe a much more solid space, a much more real space. Way back in the day, Riley used to say to me, there are two worlds. And of course, I was vain enough to think that my world was the real world and his was something else, you know? But he was playing in the world of consciousness itself. And I was playing in a very limited world that was attempting to be opened up. And I would say the same thing to all of us now. It's the real world is the world of that space within yourself. And the more we kind of get acclimated to that new space, the more the new world starts to kind of coagulate around us, come into being around us. Yeah, there we go. All right. Hope that's helpful. So, all right. Lots of love, everybody. And I will, see you around the block. Bye.